Welcome to Talking with Springfield Township, and we have with us Springfield Township Police Chief and Safety Services Director Rick Bley, and we are delighted to have you here. I'm going to call you Chief. Does that work?
Chief or Rick's good. So
Chief or Rick?
Yeah, that's fine.
We won't do Captain Bley, but we'll do Chief.
That's perfect.
That'll work out pretty well. Well, there are a number of programs that we want to talk about and that the police is certainly directly involved with. One of them happens to be the Explorer program, if you'll talk about that.
Yeah, so we've had the Explorer program with Springfield Township for years, and just recently, within the last, I think, 2 years, the name has changed. It's not the Explorer program anymore. It's a public safety cadet program, and it's just a different nonprofit organization that kind of leads that program across the nation. So the names have changed, but really the program that we host really stays the same, and it's been a very successful program for us. The Explorers are anywhere from 14-year-old to 21. It's for young kids and young women and men that may have an interest in public safety or law enforcement that want to get involved, and they sign up. We do a quick little background and tell them what it's going to be all about, and really become part of our family. You know, during their years of their growing and schooling. The program meets once a month, and then they end up getting to ride with us. They do trainings once a month, different kind of educational seminars during that time. So what's been really successful for us, and one of the challenges that we're seeing in law enforcement is the recruiting end of it. It's really hard right now, as everybody knows, I think, in society for the last couple of years, just recruiting police officers and anybody in the public safety industry. And we use that as a really good foundation of getting into the high schools, seeing who's interested at a young age, and so they can start experiencing what that career service is all about in public safety. So, and we've had a lot of success with that. We've got current supervisors, canine officers, police officers, detectives that have all been hired through that cadet program. So it's been successful for us, and we've had it's been around so long, we've even had some officers that have retired that have made a whole career and it started in that program. So really important program to us. It's not, again, it's really hard to even recruit in that level, at that age to get into public safety. But yeah, so it's something we're proud of. They come in, we give them uniforms. They get to train with us, see what it's all about, ride along with us, and they really enjoy that. And the officers really enjoy doing it too, kind of, being mentors and getting them involved in the community.
Well, I think it's a key here because the fact is that oftentimes, particularly under the age of 21, they really don't know what the manufacturing field is. They still think it's what it used to be in the 1940s, and they see in the history books. They don't understand the difference. So the more careers that they are exposed to, it's a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and especially in today's day and age, there's so many jobs available out there. I mean, people are really, in any industry that you're getting into, just trying to find good candidates for anything. The trades there's a lot of opportunities there, and law enforcement and firefighting, public safety we're going through those same challenges. So being able to reach out at that level and exposing young men and women to the different options that they have is really important for us.
Well, you talk about the Citizens Police Academy and everything else, trying to get recruits to become police officers, and also on the fire. It really has become a challenge, hasn't it?
Oh, it absolutely has been. And our Citizens Police Academy, I've been with Springfield Township since 1996, and we started that Citizens Police Academy shortly after that. And really within the last 10 years, that program has kind of really fallen apart in Springfield Township, and for a lot of different reasons. Not really lack of supportive police, but just getting that community involvement in today's day and age with technology. Trying to find the individuals and citizens that are committed to come into that academy for 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, every single Monday night or Tuesday night, whatever night of the week you have it. That's a big commitment. So our program is, we would always be interested in having a Citizens Police Academy, but what we've kind of done the last couple of years is we've done like quarterly community education programs where every maybe 3 or 4 months, we'll put on the webpage that we're going to have a police community night, and different topics. I think the last topic we had back in September, October of this year, we talked about all of the new technology that that the law enforcement has to be able to use, and what we have out there, so our community knows, hey, what's going on? What are the tools that they have, and what's the technology they're using to keep us safe? So that was a well-attended night, and I think that's what we're looking forward into the future is like, hey, having these maybe 3 or 4 a year, different topics, maybe talk about investigations and talk about crime trends and ways to be able to keep the community safe, things that they can be looking for. So,
with everybody having a cell phone, everybody's taking photos, the cell phone comes out right away. Is that a positive for a police department or is that a hindrance?
Now, you know what? I think for the older police officers and the older generation, it's a big change. It's like anything you go through. It's a change that you're just not used to being videotaped or filmed. But the younger generation of police officers, they're used to that. Their whole life has been part of that. So we're one of the agencies coming on board with the body cameras coming up. But the cell phones and the videos really help us more than ever hinder us, because now we have so much more evidence when something does happen. We have a lot of witnesses, and we're not just relying on what they say they saw and what they're saying to us. They actually have it on video with their cell phones. So it really helps us to kind of solve some of the critical incidents that we have and some of the crime trends that we have. So it's nothing but a plus. And even with the body cameras, I think, law enforcement is now looking at it as it's making our job easier because it's the documentation of the evidence and the documentation of what's really being said and done out there in the field has really helped law enforcement tremendously.
In Springfield Township, and every township, every city has crime, so it's not a knock on Springfield Township or anything else, but is there one particular category of crime that is rather prevalent in Springfield Township?
So it's funny, people ask me that all the time, like what's going on in the township? What are the crime trends? And our crime rates really don't change too much. It's nice to know as a police department and as a leader of the police department to say, hey, we're keeping that crime trend here. We have such little crime, critical incidents. If we have a homicide, we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 different, and we might only have 2 that entire year. So you can go from 0 to 4, and those critical incidents and those crime trends don't really change that much. Our biggest crimes that I think we really want the community to be aware of, that we always talk to, are just property crimes. Don't put yourself in a position where you can become a victim. Be cognizant of what your surroundings are. Be aware of what you're leaving in your cars, at night. Be aware of locking your cars and stuff like that. Just some common sense stuff that, unfortunately, with as busy as we are, and like you just talked about being on cell phones and doing all that stuff, we forget some of those basic things, some of those safety tips, and then you become a victim, and you become vulnerable to that because you've put yourself in that position. So really, our property crimes, thefts from vehicles, those kind of go seasonal when the seasons start getting a little warmer or a little cooler. But property crimes are one of our big things. And I know everybody's going to agree with me on this. The number one complaint that we get from our citizens or concerns and challenges is traffic. People just, for whatever reason, I think just during the COVID time, everybody just started driving crazy. And everybody sees it. The police officers see it. Unfortunately, we can't be on every street 24 hours a day, but we've done our best to really come up with our style of policing and what's a priority in Springfield Township, and it is traffic safety. And that's become the last couple of years one of our priorities. And we've reached out to the state of Ohio, received some grants that we can get that we can use for refunding money on overtime, where we can just put officers out there that are just assigned to the traffic safety concerns that we have from our citizens that are calling in, and we can kind of direct them where they're not tied to the radio, chasing the radio around on all the calls for service, so they can really direct on that traffic safety.
I live in a neighborhood, to talk directly about what you're referring to. You're going from one very busy section to another, so they cut through my street, which is supposed to be 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, when it's work time in the morning and it's work time in the afternoon, we're looking at speeds of better than 40 to 45 miles an hour, and we have young children on that street. And the police department has responded, and all police departments, by trying to put a patrol car there. But you really need citizens' input, don't you, if this is happening on a regular basis, Chief?
Absolutely. I think one of the things, we have the technology, and we can put police officers out there, and we put our speed signs out there. And those speed signs gather a lot of intel for us, too, a lot of data that we can examine. But the real way to solve the problem is speaking with the neighbors and letting them know it, because just like you said, a lot of it is the neighbors that live in that neighborhood, and they're distracted. They're using the cell phones like we spoke about before. They're not really paying attention to what they're doing. They're coming off of a Winton Road that's 35 mile an hour, and they don't realize the speeds now when they're turning off into a subdivision that, oh, I have to slow down. So it's community awareness. Again, it's almost just like we were talking about before, is just being aware of where you're at, what you're doing, slowing down, make yourself safe, make your neighbors safe. So yeah, it's a big concern. I mean, unfortunately, we've had our accidents in Springfield Township, but we're really taking our resources and trying to address it the best we can.
You said something that's interesting, because you see those speed signs, 20, 25, 40 miles an hour. You said you get information from that.
Yeah.
So it's not just showing you the speed.
No.
We really got to be careful, right?
Yeah.
Is that the key?
It's not taking pictures. And when I say it's
Right.
giving us information, it's giving us the data of what is the volume of traffic that's coming through that street, what are the average speeds, what are the high speeds. It'll actually give us, hey, 100 cars came through during this period of time, and here was the speeds of each one of them. And the nice thing is that a lot of times in neighborhoods, we can almost pin down, it's like, hey, at 5:45, there's a high rate of speed that's coming through every single time. Well, is that somebody that's getting off work, coming home for the night?
And that gives you the opportunity.
And it gives us the
to put a
opportunity to
patrol
kind of
car.
go put a
Yes.
patrol car there and maybe, get that educational piece. And, our big thing with traffic safety is we're not going to cite our way out of problems. We're not going to cite people to court and all that. But it's really that educational piece, being able to stop and make sure that they're aware of, hey, this is what our concern is, this is what your neighbor's concerns are, and keeping everybody safe back there.
You also have talked about neighborhood watch. Now, let's not go back to the movie with Vince Vaughn where they went way overboard. But when you talk about neighborhood watch, what are we referring to?
Wow, today the neighborhood watch, I think, has changed so much just because of technology. You see all the different apps, the Nextdoor apps. People are always on their Facebook, and that's how they communicate with their neighbors. So the police department has to get involved in that too, and we do. I mean, we monitor those social media apps to make sure that we're staying in tune with what the neighbors and the citizens are talking amongst each other with. It gives a good platform for us to be able to say, oh, these are their concerns that they're seeing in their neighborhood. That's almost become a lot of the neighborhood watch anymore. It's not, like you said before, the traditional, hey, let's get together weekly and have, a neighborhood watch meeting. But we're still able to do that. The communities that want to do that, we're more than happy to host them at our police department and kind of say, here's the things that you can be doing. Here's the direct line to the police department. You don't have to call 911. In most of the agencies in Hamilton County, they all have non-emergency numbers that you can call. Springfield Township, we have somebody that answers the phone at the police department from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And our 729-1300 number is that non-emergency number where people can call all the time just to give us information, just to talk to us about what's going on in their neighborhood. So yeah, the neighborhood watch is definitely has changed over the years from the traditional groups getting together, and even when you start seeing like citizens on patrol and stuff like that, all that has kind of evolved with technology and how you can monitor what's going on in your neighborhoods.
One of the things, unfortunately, that's become a soft target are schools. How do you protect the schools?
So in Springfield Township, I mean, we have a school resource officer that's assigned to Finneytown High School. St. Xavier High School is one of our biggest private schools that we have in Springfield Township, and this is the first year that they've actually reached out and asked for a school resource officer there. So we have somebody at our two biggest schools, the high schools, every single day. That's one of them, but really just keeping that communication with the administration and the staff at the schools, being a part of their day-to-day activities, knowing that we're there, that they can call us whenever they need us. And for the most part, you don't even have to call us because we make it part of our routine to make sure that we do get down there in the schools and see the kids. And having that school resource officer is so important for us to do that. And it goes back to what we talked about before, just seeing them, the police officer, not just a uniform, but seeing them as a personality. Maybe it's an opportunity for us to do recruiting, to see who's interested in public safety. So, but yeah, having those, when you talk about the soft targets, they are soft targets, but I always tell people when we get these conversations, schools are still, we see these critical incidents, but they're still one of the safest places in America. We have a lot of kids and juveniles that are there, and for the number of days that all of these kids and staff and everybody's together, the percentage of incidents that happen are very low.
And recently, you and I attended a meeting where you were just talking about 911, where you were talking about the Springfield Township Emergency Notification System.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's really, it's kind of stems off of Alert Hamilton County. So Hamilton County EMA, they have these systems set in place where where citizens can go and they can sign up to be alerted for any type of emergency or public communication, whether it's weather emergency or weather alerts, civil disturbances, anything that maybe municipalities need to get a hold of their citizens and let the community know what's going on. So what the Alert Hamilton County kind of stems off into Alert Springfield Township. So we can kind of really hone in and specialize, like, hey, if we have an incident where we just want to alert neighborhoods or a wider view of the community, we can do that. And the citizens have an opportunity just to go on our webpage at springfieldtwp.org and just hit the link that says communication, and they can sign up their cell phones, and then they can pick and choose what alerts they want. You know, whether it's an Amber Alert or whether it's a community alert, weather alert. So sometimes you don't always want your phone going off, you know, every time there's a thunderstorm warning or watch, but you can pick and choose kind of what those alerts are. So that's kind of evolved too with technology. That's a quick and easy way for us. I mean, it can be as simple as there's a road closure, and we just want to put that alert out to our community and residents of that. It can be something that maybe we've got a a critical incident going on that we want to alert a specific neighborhood. We can kind of hone in on those addresses and phone numbers. So,
well, we just got through the holidays, and of course, telephone scams are high during the holidays, but they're not just during the holidays. They're 12 months out of the year. That's something that citizens need to be aware of, particularly since the elderly they prey on them.
Absolutely. And again, it's that what we talked about, just the change in our culture and society with technology and how that becomes difficult for the older generations. My parents are going through the same thing. They're in their mid-80s. They still have landlines. You know, a lot of people, the younger generation, nobody has a landline anymore. And I tell them, I think the best advice is always to be, if you don't know who's calling you, don't answer the phone. You know, if it's important, they'll leave you a message, and then you can determine what's going to happen, because these scams, they sound real. You know, they sound sincere. They're really good actors, and they might not even be from this country. You know, these phones are coming from outside of the United States. So I always tell everybody that if you don't know who's calling you, if they're not in your contact, it's probably not worth listening. And the things that they're going to try to sell you and the information that they're going to try to get you, don't do that over the phone. That's not where you want to be doing that. So yeah, that is difficult to kind of break that trend. You know, like I said, my parents are the same way. They're like, well, somebody's calling. I need to talk to them, and it's and there are a lot of scams out there. So best advice is just, you know, don't ever give any information over the phone. No bank account numbers, no credit card numbers and stuff like that. So the phone scams are out there. There's big ones now coming out saying that you owe this much money because you're back, you know, you're late on your taxes with the IRS. You're never going to get a warrant notification for your arrest over the phone. That's not going to happen. So,
it's a knock at the door.
Yes, it's a knock at the door, and it's going to be a uniformed police officer
Yes.
or you know, an agent like that. So, you know, I think that the biggest thing that we could just tell our community is listen to your instincts, and when you don't feel right, call us. That's what we're there for, to be able to inform you or to be able to follow up on that phone number to really find out where that's coming from and help you through that. So don't be embarrassed. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that we have with some of the aging, you know, adults, that when they feel like they got scammed, they don't want to report it. We all get scammed. It doesn't matter how old you are, it just happens. And so don't be embarrassed about it, because it happens a lot. And the more information we get and know about that, a lot of it we report to the Attorney General's office. They've got scams, you know, investigators that handle stuff like that. So, you know, some of that information, it's not just for our community, but it's for a bigger investigation. So the more information we get when that happens, the better.
I just got a text yesterday saying, please text me. I don't know the number.
Yeah.
Delete.
Especially all the political ads and
Yes.
stuff that come along your
Oh,
text.
yeah.
Your number is out there, and people can disguise the numbers that's calling. You know, those numbers, they make it look like, you know, so they'll see your number, and if your number starts with a 615 or an area code 513, they'll disguise that number to be very close to yours, so you think, this might be part of my group. This might be part of my organization. So they really do a good job of trying to do that, to try to trick you into answering the phones.
One other thing about scams, even though cold weather, it's not too far from spring, it suddenly occurs pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You have a lot of these door-to-door scams,
Yeah.
where today I'm a roofer, tomorrow I'm going to do your gutters, that type of thing. How does one protect themselves with that?
So the first thing I would always tell everybody is if you have somebody going door to door, don't be afraid to call your local police department, Springfield Township Force, wherever you're at. Call them and let them know. We encourage and require, depending on what they're soliciting, to make sure that they register and we know that they're in the neighborhoods doing that. If our police officers see people going door to door, they'll stop and say, hey, what are you going door to door for? What are you doing? So our resolutions and our laws say, hey, you have to register if you're going to and you're actually going to sell a product and take some payment at that time. But we are very proactive at trying to find out who is going in our neighborhoods. And most companies that are legit are willing to come in and let us know, hey, we're going to be in your area to doing this. So again, the door-to-door stuff, don't answer it. It's almost like your cell phone is don't answer it. If you've got, the Ring door cameras are very popular now, so those help us a lot with law enforcement to be able to see who's going door to door for this stuff. It's not illegal for people to go door to door, but don't answer it. But be aware, pay attention. So if it's, what we don't want and what we look at is we don't want these individuals going around if they are casing to see who's home during what time of the day and they're not getting a response. So if you just want to be polite, the biggest thing is just to say you're not interested and tell them to go on and move on. So, but always, if you have that door-to-door, don't hesitate to call the police department and let us know what's going on in that neighborhood.
Well, there's no question you have a lot of challenges, a lot of duties and everything else. Probably the biggest challenge is having triplets.
Well, we're getting old now, so I think it was probably a bigger challenge with my wife. I worked a lot of overtime throughout my career to kind of stay away from that at home. But no, it was a great challenge. Very proud of my kids and my wife for what they've done over the last. They're 23 now, so they're not kids anymore. But yeah.
See, when you were talking about elderly, you really gave me the look like, okay, but now I'm bringing your age up a little bit more.
Thank you.
Well, Chief, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, I just appreciate you really having us on and to be able to communicate. I think really one of the things with Springfield Township is it's hard. We talk about these programs that we do. It's hard for us really to reach out to all of our neighborhoods. Springfield Township is geographically challenged. It's one of the townships that makes it a lot of fun because there's probably 12 or 13 different identified neighborhoods, and that's where really people identify themselves. They identify themselves from what neighborhood they're in, and we're proud of representing and serving all of those neighborhoods and the different needs that each neighborhood that has for the police department. So we encourage everybody from all of the neighborhoods in Springfield Township to stay involved with us, stay communicated with us. Don't hesitate, like I said, the more information we have on what's going on in your community and what's going on in your neighborhood, we can't be there 24 hours a day. And so the more information that we have from citizens calling and just talking to us and coming to those community meetings that we talk about, it's important for us, and it makes everybody safe.
And COVID closed us in, but I think you have to. I'm in a neighborhood where there were 3 houses that have been there over 30 years. So we know each other and everything else. We kind of look out for each other. And I think that's what you have to do. You don't close yourself in. Know what your neighbors are, what they're doing, what their needs may be, those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole helping your neighbors is huge, and it's unfortunately, even you talk about raising kids is forcing them to get outside because there's so much technology and so much stuff that they can do indoors anymore, and so. But going out and seeing your neighbors and knowing what their routines are, so when you see something like, hey, that's something different. Joe's not usually home at this time, or why is there a car in their driveway? Being able to be aware of that stuff and that information is important. That's like that neighborhood watch. That's the old school neighborhood watch of seeing that stuff.
My neighbor today was walking his dog. He's retired, and he saw me come to work. He says, "You're going to work early today."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yes, I am."
And it's not creepy. That's not.
No,
you shouldn't be freaked out.
We're looking out for each other.
You're looking out for each other, and you know the routines, and that's what law enforcement does when they're on their routine patrols. They're looking for things that are out of the ordinary. That, hey, what's going on? That's not what I normally see at 3 o'clock in the morning in this neighborhood. So, the more we get information from the citizens, that's all I would end it with is just don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy. Call us. We want to talk to you. We want to have that community involvement so we can keep each other safe.
And I want to thank everyone at Springfield Township. You have been so kind to me to embrace me coming in. I've attended a couple meetings. We've been together on that. And I really do appreciate that.
Well, thanks for having us, and welcome to the Springfield Township family, I guess. But it's yeah, looking forward to a lot more events.
Well, I feel part of it.
Good.
This has been Talking with Springfield Township, and we thank you for joining us.